How are you now?
God, that hat is ridiculous.
Telling you, Daria taking us back to the 90s.
And that hat's taking us back to 1790s. So I hit the record buttons. That means we are doing Art Teachers and Hats, Volume 3.
So tell me about your hat, Andy.
Well, are we going to skip over your hat first? The Masters got canceled. I think it's supposed to be next weekend. So I went ahead and dug out my Masters hat that I had never been to Augusta National, but I bought the hat on Poshmark because I really wanted a Augusta National trucker hat. So
It's a sharp looking hat.
Cool as your hat, though. What is going on?
Well, I would say cool would be kind of the wrong terminology. It's actually very warm. This hat is a hat I got around the holiday season. It's kind of homage to Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Vacation. And the endearing part is this little spot right here. Compliments of Jim the Beagle. He thought my hat was a chew toy and he proceeded to tear it to shreds, which was really pretty cute, but then I was a little frustrated too.
So was Jim being a critic about your fashion choices, maybe? Or trying to tell
he's
you
a
something?
beagle, and my hat is designed to resemble rabbit fur, so I think there's a little psychological thing going on
So
there.
maybe you shouldn't be wearing the hat then. So what's on the docket for today? We were talking about, we had a nice 40-minute conversation before this about motivation and what does it take for us to kind of get moving, especially during these times.
And you and I have been also talking about the challenge of trying to get teenagers motivated because we're both high school art teachers. How do we get them motivated to do their best work? And what better way to talk about motivation than to kind of share what motivates us? So
cool. All right.
I'm going to pitch it right back at you. Who's an artist that motivates you? Like when you see them, what's the thing that like sparks you?
I have been digging a lot. This gentleman here, his street name is 1000. He's a graffiti artist out of Seattle, Washington. His work at first I thought was pretty remedial. And then I started diving into his YouTube channel, and he has a lot of really cool things and things to say and thoughts about his art. And the way he goes about in his workflow, it's really, really kind of cool. So, and I love how bright his work is. It's very colorful. It's very eye-catching. And he has this style that's unmistakably his. And he owns it. He's like, this is what I do. And people come to me for what I do. And fun. He does these huge murals too. He just got done with one in New Zealand. We go back. What was your sign you had in a garbage can? I heard
I had to create this sign. I got my little trash can.
And
it's just a reminder to my kids.
No, seriously, leave me alone. It can wait.
Yeah. So you use the term remedial. I liked that choice of words. What do you mean remedial when you're talking about 1000?
I just gave my students this animal challenge that he came up with and did a video on. But obviously the proportions are wrong because they're characters and they're weird illustrations and goofy, fictitious things. But when he's drawing them, you see his pencil sketches, the proportions are wrong. The anatomy is wrong. Even on these people, things are too long. The arms, from here to here is really, but it doesn't look like it's done on purpose. This guy here, another one of my favorites here, John Wingley. But you can see his proportions.
I love how we're going to butcher these names.
I think that's what it is, John T. Wingley. I think it's what it is. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. Yeah. Or John Twingley.
But his proportions are wrong, but on purpose. Look at this cool one here he did for, I think it was for a magazine. But it's wrong on purpose. So I had this art director back in my day that said, I always lined everything up and I would move some things over a little bit to make it different. And he was like, it looks like it's wrong. You need to move it to make it different, not just move it, make it really off. So I think with 1000's work, it just looks like it's kind of off. I don't know. I still love it though. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, and it's pop culture. He has a lot of things with cassette tapes and these cool fictitious characters and fantasy things and octopus.
I love his vibe. He's like a modern day Keith Haring. When you look at him and you look at the picture, he's just got this hip artist look, but then he's wild and willy and is trying a lot of different things in his work. I think that's pretty cool too.
So his YouTube channel is great. He's a ton of fun.
When I see his work, I see a lot of your work though too. I see the whimsy. I see the willingness to just put yourself out there and think about some impossible solutions and things that you wouldn't normally see in life. Tons of juxtaposition and all of that.
Oh, wait, hold on.
So here we are, we're waiting for Andy, and here he comes with the skateboard.
I forgot the important part. So 1000 painted some skateboards, and I had this broken skateboard laying around in my studio. It was taking up
Ooh.
space. And I asked my students, hey, give me some ideas to paint on the skateboard deck because I want you guys to come up with something. And they gave me some really cool ideas. And one of them was like, why don't you just draw a skater dude? I was like, oh yeah, it's a skateboard. Why don't I draw someone skating on it? So I went ahead and found an old skateboard photographer back in the day, Grant Britton.
Okay.
It's just kind of weird. But anyway, this is the picture I had. And I like this because the space I had was nice and tall and lean and thin. And then I went ahead and started putting it on here.
Ooh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
That's
So
really cool.
kind of based on 1000's work of the bright colors, the outlines, the kind of skewing of stuff. And then I fit Grant Britton's image in here. So we'll see. So we're
Very
getting there.
cool.
So it's inspiration to doing.
You can't use the iPad right now. You know you're not supposed to disturb while we're doing this, right? Did you read the sign? There's a skull and crossbones on the sign. See?
They don't read.
Parenting 101.
Yeah.
They don't read. Yeah, motivation comes in a lot of shapes and sizes, and you showed Instagram as your main source. I'm also going to share Instagram as my main source. So
Instagram, I think, was made for artists and photographers. Like, I don't know what else you would share on there. Like,
absolutely.
I don't care about, like, I don't know what you had for dinner and all that stuff. Like, I want to see your art.
Absolutely. I want to see what people are doing. And what's really neat about Instagram is not only do we get to see the finished pieces that they do, we get to look into their studio, we get to look into their processes, we get to learn the people that they're connected to. You know, reading the book Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, really awesome read. And one of the things he suggests is building your own art family tree. And in order to do that, you look at a whole bunch of different artists and you find their influences, and you continue to seek out as much information as you can only about the people that you love. And you end up building this awesome tree of artists. So Shayna Levinson is a portrait artist out of New Mexico. I hope I'm saying her name right. But what's cool is when you see the people who influence each other. So she's married to this guy, yes. They have their own unique, distinct style. He's just an incredible gift when it comes to the realism and the subtlety. This is a particularly stunning charcoal drawing. He's sponsored by General Charcoal.
Okay.
He does a lot of workshops for them. What he does with a white charcoal pencil has convinced me that I need to work that back into my repertoire, and I've really enjoyed doing that.
And I love when artists are sponsored by companies. Like, students don't understand that, but these are like the LeBron Jameses of the art world.
Oh, heck yes.
You know, what's her name?
Right, Morgan Davidson.
Morgan Davidson,
an incredible talent, and yeah, the fact that she's directly connected with Prismacolor, I think, is awesome.
And her art's on the case, the cover of all the color pencil cases is pretty sick. So that's cool.
I'm starting with a safe bet there because, you know, I'm a portrait artist. I love working with faces. So one of the things that hooks me about making art is when people can do something really, really well. What I like about what both Shayna and David do in their work is they also add the personal touch. So if we look at Shayna's work, you can see that there's a whole lot of self-portraiture involved. And then when you look at David's work, he's definitely telling a lot of other people's stories and in a really powerful way.
Yeah, I love the one. Scroll up a little bit, the blue rectangle one.
Yep.
Yeah, the bubbles.
Yep, that's her. Yeah, there she is yelling.
Oh, that's
and
really
just,
cool.
You know, willing to make herself vulnerable, putting herself out there.
That's really cool.
Really focused on the anatomy and how particular she is about her work. But as you scroll down too, she's been doing this for quite some time. So as she goes through her work, you know, you can see a progression. You can see things improve just by looking at the history on Instagram. And I think that that's a really fun way to kind of dig into what they're doing.
Go up. I like you can see the scale too. So that's probably
and that happens to be a portrait of one of her artist friends, Dorielle Kamey, who is another artist that I absolutely love.
That's cool.
And I could go on and on and on about these guys. David Kaysen has been doing a series of Holocaust survivors and painting their portraits. You can see the scale of his work here. They're just remarkable oil paintings that are super powerful and drawing upon his Jewish heritage. You know, anytime somebody can tell a story that has historical reference, adds power to it as well. And it doesn't have to be this most profound, crazy thing that you say in your work. Sometimes it's just telling a true story and being real with your audience that can go a super long way for connecting with people. So when I make art, I try and do the same thing. And I'm looking at nostalgia too. I just want you to look at my artwork and and kind of smirk at it. It's a nod, and yeah, I get it. It's fun. It's not
But
meant to
the
twist
other
your brain
thing
or make you
too,
think.
you have that in mind, but every single piece you do, you don't have that in mind. Sometimes you just practice something to do it. It's just, I was just drawing something to draw something the other day. I drew a skull doing something. It's like, who cares? I don't have an end
Right.
result. I'm not putting it in a gallery. I'm not putting it online. I'm just drawing it to draw, to practice something, try something, spend some time. If I get an achievement in a video game, who cares? But
Right.
I have this piece of artwork for the next, how long my paper lasts for, 300 years? So that's not horrible either. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So when I think about motivation, sometimes I think about just getting started. Where do I start? Too many people, when they try and make art, put the pressure on themselves. Like when I open up my sketchbook, I'm not trying to be David Kaysen or Shana Levinson at all. I'm trying to be Dave Denner, but I'm inspired by what they're capable of.
Right.
And I know that comes from constant practice over and over and over again, drawing similar subject matter. Getting started can be a daunting task because here we are, we're looking at a blank sheet of paper and we're expecting something like what our idols create, but that's unrealistic. So I got a good solution for that. What do I draw question? In the end, it doesn't matter.
No.
If you like it, if you're interested in it, then draw it. Learn as much as you can about it. Push it as far as you can go, and you'll be amazed what starts to happen. So don't be afraid to go out there and draw just because you find something interesting. It doesn't have to be packaged and ready to go to the Louvre tomorrow. Just
No.
practice, draw it, get it on paper, and learn from that experience.
And I think what you were talking about, like inspiration. So I love this guy, Tom. I'm going to butcher his last name, but Thomas Fluharty.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he does all these drawings, not all of them. A lot of them are in this indigo blue pencil, and everything is twisted and pulled and kind of tweaked and shoved. It's just, he's awesome.
Love his work.
So I think what I started to do was I just blatantly ripped off, I'm going to take, his blue pencil, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a drawing. Oh, thank you, still like an artist, and base it off what he does. Now I have my own
Absolutely.
flair in here, though. This is my own style, but inspired by Thomas.
Well, I'm glad you bring up Thomas Flaherty too, because I'm also inspired by him. So my current portrait of Steve Buscemi that I'm working on,
Yeah, look at
and
that lovely
very
mug.
similar. When I do work, I'm looking at artists like that too, and you can see the influence, but I'm still going my own way with it as well. Well, and here's the downside to Instagram and the internet. We see every at their best. See the thousands of drawings that are flooded with mistakes. You don't see any of that on Instagram that much. So you're right. Don't get discouraged by seeing other people do things well.
So one of my other favorites is Paul Wang. He is in Singapore, I believe, but he has this beautiful style of, really drippy paint, wet and wet paint. But he put up a video the other day of him going through his sketchbook, and there was actually some bad drawing. And I was like, oh my God, there's a bad drawing in there. You actually do bad work. Now, obviously, there's some really cool, beautiful ones too, and these wonderful landscapes and things. He's a wonderful urban sketcher. He's a cool dude too. It was just kind of a breath of fresh air to see something done poorly.
There's so much pressure out there to be perfect, but yeah, you got to realize that it's the pursuit, it's the practice. The trick is that you got to find a reason to just pick up and want to open up to a fresh page again and see what happens. Leave yourself open to possibilities, and don't be afraid of failure, because you have to fail a ton before you start to succeed as an artist.
A lot. Like, that's the name of the game, is how do you fail at making art, and then how do you bounce back and keep going? As long as you learn something from your mistake or learn something from what you did, your drawing was a success.
Bingo.
Mr. Denner, I think we have gone way over, dude. We're at 21 minutes.
You're going to have to edit this back.
Oh my God, I'm going to be editing until next Wednesday.
Keep pushing yourselves. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Open up those sketchbooks, work your butts off. Just keep a positive attitude. In the end, we do this for the love and the pursuit of becoming better at what we do, honing our craft.
Making art, there's a cool way to share what you have inside of you to other people. It's also a cool time now to get your emotions out on paper. If something's confusing or weird, like I've had some really weird dreams the past 4 nights, I might illustrate this weird demon thing that was chasing me last night. It helps get it out of your head and it goes away. So this is a perfect time to get those sketchbooks out.
And draw. When we get to that part where it's hard, just keep going. And if you're struggling, put on a hat. they'll make you nice and cozy, and you
It's
know,
not that.
it'll put you in that
It's
happy
horrible.
place. So I just want to
Oh my
remind
God.
everybody to take care of themselves, take care of each other, and don't forget, everybody love everybody. Peace.